So one of the things that I find quite interesting is that we've all probably been there in our business or career. This is probably mostly careers where we get a bit bored. And what's really interesting, the more I've kind of dug into this, is that often the challenges that we face are balanced with our skill set. Some of us at school kind of found it quite easy, so therefore got disruptive and got bored because actually it wasn't that difficult. And actually, when you don't feel that you have a challenge which is big enough that you really kind of feel challenged by, that's often when people get bored, they get disillusioned, they give up, they get fed up. Likewise, if you take on a task which is so far ahead of your skill level, it might feel impossible to do. It's like if I wanted to become an Olympic athlete, I'm technically, it could be possible, but in practice, it's not going to happen. It would have to be a non-athletic sport like shooting, anyway. But the point is, it's really important to look at your skill set and where you match and where you're at. That likewise, it's to set appropriate goals to really help you achieve your aims. So what I'm going to do is draw a bit of a chart and just give you some examples of different things to consider. And what we're looking to do here is just plant the seed to really just make you think about the concept, because often what's really interesting to do is just have your stretch goals, which are a little bit more difficult than where you're currently at, because that's where progress is kind of made. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to go green. So if your skill level is really high, I'm going to skill. But actually the challenge that you're looking to set yourself isn't, you're going to get bored. It's a case of you'll find whatever it is so easy that I'm not going to say it's a waste of your time, but it's not a constructive kind of use of time. And actually this is true. A lot of people, that if you're overqualified for a job or it's just not interesting in whatever, this does happen. So actually if this ever has resonated with you, let me know. Likewise, if your skill level is there, but your challenge is just huge, to actually try and fill that gulf would be the equivalent of me trying to make the Olympic basketball team. Technically possible, but very, very unlikely. And the amount of work and stuff to go into that point, it wouldn't happen. And what's just really interesting is that as you go through your career, essentially your skill set actually grows over time, because you learn stuff, you get better, you have more reference points. Your skill level increases over time. And what's really interesting is that essentially what you want to do is set yourself goals that grow and stuff over time. So what's really interesting is that often people, when we talk about goal setting, they say, look, I want a $100 million revenue company and to make £10 million a year, or to make the Olympics or whatever. But when you set the huge goal, it's essentially this scenario where you have a good skill level, but your target is just there. That's a big jump to kind of do. So one of the things we talk about on the course is actually how can we break that down? And we do it in terms of lead actions. I've showed you in previous weeks I have a frame on my desk which actually breaks down all the little steps that we want to do. But when you then celebrate the little wins, essentially as your skill set grows over time, grow your challenge over time. The challenge that you set, you always want them to be slightly above where you're currently at, but not too far out of reach. So again, if you're just starting off, set yourself the challenge to, I don't know, for instance, say we're going to use weight loss as a good example because most people kind of understand that. So you're not quite happy with how you look and you have bigger ambitions to lose 20 kilos. But actually, if you try and go from 0 to 20, that's a really big stretch that you'll feel like you're not making any progress for a very long time. And the bigger that gap is, the more likely you are to give up. So actually your first one could just be to lose 1 kilo. And actually you do that. And actually, okay, so set the next target could be 4. But the whole point is not to really overstretch your challenge and your goal versus where your skill set is. But then likewise, if you do have a really big audacious goal that you want to go for, if you do want to launch a $100 million company, which I'll be honest, I do, the more you can actually updo, build and grow your skill set, which does take time. To learn stuff takes time. There's a reason why university degrees are 3 or 4 years. It's because it takes time to learn stuff. So likewise, if you have really big grand ambitions to create the next Facebook, chances are It'll help to start building your skills now. And the broader your range of skills, even if you're a technical expert in kind of coding, the more you can learn about management skills, sales, marketing, whatever, I promise you it will genuinely help. But then likewise, if you're currently a little bit disillusioned or a little bit downhearted because maybe you're not making as much traction as you hoped with your business startup, whatever it could be, maybe it could be that your goal that you're setting is maybe a bit too far away. So for instance, a lot of people want to earn £10,000 a month as a freelancer. That's like the goal that people kind of talk about. And if you're currently at one, which is cool, as long as you're breaking even and paying your own bills, don't push yourself too much. Just then make it 2,000, 3,000 a month. Again, that's if that's your goal. But the point is, don't worry and don't care about what anyone else's goals are. Just manage your challenges and the things that you want to tackle based against your skill set. If you're bored in your current business or career, chances are the challenge is too low for where you're currently at. So find a bigger challenge. And actually, if you're quite happy in your job, you've got a good gig, it pays for everything you want. This is where people often look to find challenges outside of work. A lot of people, my kind of age, start to do things like Ironmans and triathlons and things that are really big goals that they'll, have great pride to do and achieve, and then just start to work towards it. So even if you're not necessarily getting fulfillment in your work and stuff every day, other challenges outside of work could kind of be something that you look at. But it's just this concept that I wanted to talk about, that either, yes, if you're currently bored or frustrated or whatever in your job, is your challenge really big enough to kind of motivate you? And is it something that kind of gets your heart excited? Or flip it round, have you set a goal so big that actually it'll be so difficult to kind of complete, that actually celebrate the small wins, celebrate the getting your website live and actually just getting your first customer. And even with someone I was with last night, celebrate getting your first troll. So whenever you do anything on the internet, as I do or anyone kind of does, you're going to have people that don't like it. So ironically, although it's never nice to have someone slag off your product, at least celebrate the fact that someone's seen it. And it's those kind of things that over time, if you really understand the game you're in, the lead actions to do the actions which will help you get to the kind of bigger goal, I promise it kind of does work. If you catch any of this up on YouTube, please feel free to comment. I always try and respond to everyone. What are your kind of goals and challenges? Have you ever had one which was too big that you kind of got bored of? Because actually, if it takes so long to feel like you're making progress, people give up. This happens a lot with kind of weight loss stuff as well. And that's why it's really important to have small kind of manageable goals.